So I think back when I was 19, I remember this day. I dropped out of college. I was going to JC and I dropped out of college. Told my parents, I'm like, this college stuff is not for me. I'm gonna go make out in the world. I packed up 2 suitcases. I was in the Bay Area. Got on a train. I was moving out to Boston. I was in love with a girl. I get out there and the girl has another boyfriend. Long story there. I know, it's terrible. I'm like, I just left my entire life in San Francisco. Packed up 2 suitcases, I'm here. And you have another boyfriend named Buzz. It's about Buzzkill, yeah. So I tried to make my way in the world, and ultimately I ended up back in my same little hometown, living about a mile away from my parents, in a little apartment with a landscape construction job. And I remember one day, and this job was great, I would like pump cement, I would go and get big tires and fill in creeks with them. And I remember one day I had to shovel about 3 tons of rock. Have you ever shoveled rock? It's not like, it's like, and then you put it in the wheelbarrow, and then you get it down the plank, and then you pour it in the pit. And the whole day I'm shoveling all this rock. I'm actually calculating, well, let's see, what's the volume of that pit? What's the size of the rock? Let's see, I actually calculated what I learned later was the packing factor. It was a materials term for the amount of volume that something takes up. And like, at the end of the day, just because I kept myself busy doing all this mathematics in my head, I was like, I think there might be a little bit more for me in the world. That's when I started going back to school. I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to study. I like math, and I like jumped into a calculus class and just killed it. Just scored highest in the class. I was like, oh, this calculus stuff's easy. And they're like, that's easy for me. Yeah, it's fun too. They're like, okay, you're weird. So I did that, and then all of a sudden, like this 5 years master's bachelor's thing popped up on my radar at UC Santa Barbara. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. You go down, and in 1 extra year, you get a master's and not just the bachelor's degree. That's pretty worth it. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Let's see, UC Santa Barbara is the #1 materials program in the country. I'm like, oh, you automatically get in without having to like apply to grad school. I'm like, oh, that's pretty sneaky. So, and then, oh, have you been to UC Santa Barbara? It's like beach. It's beautiful. Surfing. It's the good life. So I go down there to that, and oh, did you guys? So I have 2 different TV shows. I have one on the Discovery Channel and one on the Science Channel. And have you heard of Prototype This?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. So I put that show together for the Discovery Channel and was one of the hosts of the show. And people often ask, like, how do you like engineering end up with a TV show? Do you want to do that? So while I was doing my, I think it was grad school or undergrad, I got an email. And it came through to all the engineers, the entire school, probably the entire country. It went out to all the different schools, at least the tier 1 schools. It says, this email was like, do you want to go to Australia? I was like, me? I was like, yes. To be on a TV show? I'm like, yeah. Like building crazy machines that mimic animals. I'm like, yeah. That sounds pretty good to me. So they're like, oh, just apply, and you're supposed to send in a video, you're supposed to record yourself, So I went all out, and I like became basically a producer and created this like amazing video of me. I'm in the clean room, talking to the camera, I'm driving my car, go all out on this, I send it in, and I go around and ask all my other friends. All my other friends in the engineering department, I'm like, oh, did you see that thing for the TV show? And they're all like, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, I know, it's awesome, right? Like, yeah. I'm like, you send your application? They're like, oh, no. I didn't. Like, what, you don't want to go to Australia? Oh, that sounds really cool. I'm like, you don't want to be on a TV show? Oh, no, that sounds amazing. Well, why didn't you send in an application? Oh, that's... Initiative is very important in life. Take some damn initiative and go out there and do it. Like, I have a little thing with my friends, the entrepreneurs in the Bay Area. We have this saying, if you don't feel like you're winging it, you're not really pushing yourself hard enough, It's okay to feel like you're kind of like out of your comfort zone. That's a really good place to be. Because that means that you're in the unknown, right? You know what Einstein says about this? Einstein says something to the effect that imagination is far more important than knowledge. And the reason being is that knowledge limits itself to this sphere that we know about, the known universe, which is finite. Imagination is infinite. It is all the possibilities that could exist in the world, in the universe. And that's why imagination is far more important. So I went to Australia. I got on the TV show, right? I go to Australia. It was a really stupid show. I never tell anyone the name of it, especially this guy, because then he'll go look it up. It'll be really embarrassing. I basically mimic a giraffe, and it was kind of stupid. I did that. It was 1 week, Australia. It was awesome. It was really cool. I got to go over there. I got to go hang out in the zoo. I got licked by a giraffe. You know, all these things that you go to engineering school for. And I come back, don't think anything of it. The show kind of airs, and it was, an Animal Planet show, and it wasn't that cool. I mean, it was kind of cool. And then about a year and a half later, I just finished my PhD. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. Because that's what happens when you PhD. I want to become a professor. Do I want to go to the industry? I hope industry, I'm not too sure about that. Professor, tenure track, it's a lot. It's kind of 7 years of just grueling, pushing so hard to get your tenure. I was like, And one day I got this phone call. I was like, hello? Hello, this is the Discovery Channel. Would you like to host a television show building crazy machines? Yes. And the backstory of how that happened is there's a producer of this Animal Planet show, and there's a producer of Prototype This. And the producer of Prototype This asked the producer of the Animal Planet show, he's like, look, you had 4 college students every week for 13 weeks, so 52 students come through. I'm looking for hosts of this new show. We're going to have 4 hosts of the show, a weekly thing about building things. Can you recommend any of those students? And the producer's like, well, actually, of those 52 engineering students from the United States, there are only 3 of them who can actually build anything. 3 engineering students who can actually build anything. And there's only one you want to work with. And he threw my name out there, and then I get the phone call. Right? So by answering that little email with the video that got me on that thing, and then all of a sudden, now Discovery's calling me to basically, it's a dream job. So Prototype This was an amazing experience. It was basically, what we got to do is just sit around and come up with crazy ideas of things to build. And then we would put it through the Discovery Channel, and then they would greenlight it, and then we would have all these resources to throw at it. So one thing we built, this is kind of the crowd pleaser, was a water slide simulator. Actually, I was just in Japan, giving a talk at Fukushima High School. I'm giving my talk, and they put up this water slide simulator. Things looks like a Stargate. It's a big donut that spins. And you sit in the bottom of it. The donut's kind of spinning by, and it's 3 stories high. And you sit in the bottom of the donut, so it feels like this water slide sections are continually going by you. And then in a computer, you program your water slide that you want to go down. It figures out what would happen if you went down that, and then it plays it back into this whole thing spinning, and now this whole thing moves up and down and side to side. It's 30,000 pounds, it's 3 stories high, it's pretty crazy. I'm in Japan, I'm like, now we have a water slide simulator. And the whole, all the students were like, you guys barely know what a water slide simulator is. They're blank faces. To the translator, could you translate water slide simulator? She's like, oh yeah. Water slide simulator. All the students, oh! And so that's how we got to Prototype This, was taking that initiative. So, do we have any questions at this point? Yes?
What was your favorite part about introducing a host on the show?
It was it was the opportunity to be infinitely creative. When you're out in industry or the real world, it feels like there's a lot of constraints. Is this thing gonna make money or not? Our thing was just for it to be cool. That's a really great thing to drive towards. Is it engineer? This has to be cool. It needs to be spectacular for television. And what that did is it just opened us up to just being so creative. And being creative is actually, the creativity is a very cherished thing now. They did this poll of GE executives, the 1,000 executives at GE, and they said the number one leadership trait that they look for is creativity. Right? You wouldn't think that. You'd think like good business skills or whatever. No, it's creativity. And creativity and innovation, in my mind, go hand in hand. And innovation and creativity are what people are really looking for out in the world now. And so this, especially in the United States, is really driving. So we need to get back in touch with our innovation. There was another poll of 1,500 different executives from the United States. They said that the number one lever for creating a more sustainable economy, 95% said it was innovation. And so getting in that mindset was just really cool. It's like, let's just think of anything we want to do and make it happen.
Yeah, they had a study done on like kindergartners about that too.
Yeah.
And they found that kindergartners had more like creativity than once you get educated in playground times. So it like goes down
Yeah.
with age.
Yeah. Sure. Ken Robinson has a thing, and he gives a great TED talk. You should watch it. He says we basically we educate creativity out of kids. You know. Yeah. Just don't get me started on this subject. My friend, he was in India. He was some project director at Microsoft, and he's like, he was really annoyed because no one could abstractly solve a problem. Like an open-ended problem could not be solved. He had to define it to the point where he basically said exactly what you have to do to fix it, or solve it, or whatever. And he's like, oh, where's that abstract problem solving? Where is that? Which comes from creativity and being able to think abstract. And he's like, and he got really frustrated. Like, so he went to universities and he started like questioning, kids in the university. He's like, he couldn't find it there. And he went to the high schools and he couldn't find it. And he went to the junior highs and he couldn't find it. He finally made it all the way to the elementary school. And he's like, they can abstractly solve a problem. This is amazing. So he started a whole nonprofit, basically, of trying to get kids there to shepherd them all the way through the process. I just gave a talk to last week to a bunch of like old stodgy engineers, Flowserve. See, I didn't think much of Flowserve, but it's the largest pump and valve company in the world. They do a lot of stuff. It was really cool to hang out with them. But one thing I was really trying to push upon them is like they're trying like, how do you become more innovative? I'm like, remember before you got in this whole engineering thing, you were that kid? You did all that really crazy stuff, and you built the things, and you're imaginative. You guys are doing that now, right? You guys are really lucky, by the way. This program is so cool. Like, I wish I had this program when I was your age. This is gonna like shepherd you through what people normally like get all the creativity squashed out of them, hands-on doing. You're like getting pulled all the way through that. This is going to be life-changing for you. But I'm like, get in touch with that inner child. Like when you were like that kid and you were building, try to always remember that. There was something that was so powerful about it. There was something that motivated you to go get this education, which then killed that thing. But to go get that education so that you could do this. And they were really struck by that. Yeah. So I would say, if you're going to remember two things, one is to take initiative. It's like, why not? Just go do it, If something pops up and someone sends you an email to go to Australia to be on a TV show, respond, jump on the plane, it's a week away, right? And who knows what will come from that? It's that initiative. The other is that inner child, Never let go of that. That's so important. That's a cherished commodity, is that creativity and innovative spirit that kids have. All right, any more questions?
Like, compared to taking initiative and like creativity, where would you say like actual academic strength is in the mix? Like, how important is like being really good at calculus and science and all that is compared to taking initiative and being creative?
Pretty good. So you guys all know Maslow's hierarchy. So Maslow did this thing. Boom. You get to the top. It's self-actualization. This is like psychology, right? And there's like you take care of your basic physiological needs. This is like home, shelter, food, and then you move up the thing and you get to like love and like all your basic human needs. And once you've met all those needs, then you get to this point where you're self-actualized. So I do another one, which is to kind of get to this innovation. Right it down into these different layers. And what your question is how important is the calculus in that? Well, that's what this is. This is kind of the knowledge, right? So this is the same as shelter and self-actualization. This is knowledge. It's the base. It's really important. You know, you can't discount that at all, right? But then there's other things that build on top of that, you know? And I would put, you know, things like being able to like work with people or something like that, collaborate. I'd throw that in here, and I would say creativity. So, you know, these things are key, but you have to have that base. And, you know, are you all engineering students?
High school.
High school?
Yeah.
Are you going to be engineering students? Are you going to, are we leaning that way?
Yeah.
You should be engineering students. I have a TV show and I was an engineering student, right? You can do anything with this, you know?
This is day 3, so we're still kind of figuring it out.
Engineering is amazing. Like engineers, like we build the world. We create the world. We know about the world. I have another show out right now. It's called Outrageous Acts of Science. And I basically watch YouTube videos and then I comment on it. And I tell people what's happening. Because when I look around the world, I understand what's happening. I know all the physics, I know about the materials, I know about the mechanics. My eyes see this world way differently than a layperson. That's not a derogatory term. They're just not engineers. So that base, especially from an engineering standpoint, is so empowering, you know, and whether that's the physical world or whether that's the digital world, you know, and I think the world's starting to blur now. It's building things in my head now is not just building the physical things, but it's also building the digital things. And so there's so much cool space to be in there, yeah. So understanding that and how to build that is really important. Any more questions? Because I want to let Kyle talk too. All right, can he come up? Then you can ask them. I'm going to turn it over to Kyle. Kyle and I have a nonprofit. It's a for-purpose organization. You know, basically what Prototype this TV show is, let's get a bunch of really like smart people, great industry partners, get people from academia, let's get them all together around a really crazy idea, and then over a very short period of time, we're going to like create that thing. We're going to build it, make a TV show about it. So Reallocate is our nonprofit, and it's the same concept, except around something that we're making for television that's really cool. We're building it around something that's really going to help people's lives and make the world a better place. So it could be a medical device, it could be a water purification, but we're going to bring all these partners together, we're going to focus, and we're going to create something that's totally life-changing, game-changing out in the world. And so that's what we work on together. So I'm going to introduce Kyle. Thank you.
Cool. I want to talk about community. And this is something that's been super important for us, especially in Reallocate recently, and then very personally for me in my life as well. It's the people you surround yourself with, and how you work with them, how you create projects, how you get your ideas out of your mind, and actually bring them into the community so you can bring a bunch of people together who are all thinking in the same direction, who have similar visions, who have similar passions, who want to see these ideas manifest. I love the word manifest. It's all about just asking for the things that you want, that you really truly want for yourself, and seeing them exist, seeing them be created in front of you. So we've got this really cool project going on right now down at 7th and Mission. It's called Free Space. And it's an empty warehouse, or it was 11 days ago. So I walked into the building this morning and look at this huge chalkboard wall that we've got on the side of the entryway. It's like 10 feet tall and 20 feet wide. And we have all the projects listed out on the board. We've got a learning shelter that's going in, this SF Yield bike project, we're building a bike library. There's an art hack project, which has basically been reimagining the neighborhood and creating amazing murals and art along this entire building space. Walk through the next place, we've got a sound system that is probably the largest speaker sound system I've ever seen set around our stage. Somebody brought in a slide, so we have like a 30-foot slide lying on the ground right now. It's gonna get mounted on the thing. There's a 12 by 12 LED display that's all microcontrolled. It's open source, so you can plug in through Wi-Fi and control all the individual LED lights on it. On all of the walls in the space, there's murals everywhere. Just beautiful, colorful, creative pieces. made by probably over 20 different muralists at this point. Our upstairs has been loaded with clothing that can be given away, donated, kind of like a swap and share sort of thing. We've got this movement space, this amazing Buddha room, and the entire building has been transformed into this incredible creative space in 11 days. The only way that we were able to make this possible was through our community. And opening up the space for the people around us to come and contribute their passions and provide the thing that they wanted to build into the space. We had no control over what the heck happened. It was just kind of this crazy experiment, again, initiative of having this building, being like, okay, well, we have this thing, what are we going to do with it? People were telling us, this is nuts. You have a building for $1. What are you actually going to do with this thing? Is this going to work? Are you actually going to do something with this?
This is this initiative thing, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.